Welcome, everyone, to our Hobbs and Shaw review special.
Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Yep.
Lock and
That's
load,
the
baby.
movie.
That's the movie.
I'm Brandon T. McClure. With me, as always, is Sparkz Witty.
Yep. Yo.
Ryan
Yo.
Eliopoulos.
Oh, I'm sorry. I covered your name. Go
What's
ahead.
my name?
Ryan Eliopoulos.
Thank you very much. Hey, what's up, guys? Let's talk about Fast and the Furious.
Not joining us is Ben Magnet.
Still sick.
Still sick.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Violently ill. Out of all ends.
Pooping everywhere.
All ends. Isn't that right, Ben? He won't hear this for weeks.
See, we're going to give the impression that he is still sick, and not that we recorded this on the same day.
That's not at all the impression that I give.
I mean,
Yeah.
technically, we're not lying. He is still sick.
It's
You're
true,
right.
as of right now.
I just texted him a little bit ago, and he said, I'm feeling better.
He didn't get to go see this movie with us, unfortunately. I think he would quite enjoy it.
I bet he will.
Yeah.
So let's get some initial thoughts. Doing these review specials is always really strange for me because I'm like, let's get into nonsense. But I'm like, no, just initial thoughts.
Let's just dive in.
What's going on? What do you guys think about the movie?
I'm sorry, I meant drive in.
Whoa.
Do I
thank
not
you.
get to go first anymore?
Thank you guys for listening to our review special of Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. No, Ryan, you go first.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed this movie. It is it's not very deep. I would almost say it's a little shallow, but that doesn't mean that it still can't be a really fun theatrical experience where I'm smiling the entire time.
Sparkz?
Yeah, I had a really good time. I pretty much got the movie I expected I was going to get going in.
You
And
saw
I
those
had fun with
trailers.
that. Yeah, and I had fun with it.
Black
So,
Superman.
Before I tell you my initial thoughts, what was your guys' theater experience like? Was your theater like super into it?
We
didn't have that many people.
We went early in the morning, so we were mostly empty.
There was like
there
two
were
families.
people really into it though. There was like one group behind us who were like laughing and clapping at moments.
Okay, so I wonder if perhaps my experience was colored by my theater experience because my theater was not having this film.
Really? What time? When did you see it?
About 10 o'clock on a Saturday. On a Saturday.
Really? So like a busy theater?
Yeah.
Weird.
Packed.
Yeah.
Packed
That's
theater.
what I wanted to see this movie in a packed theater because I had a good time.
Yeah. Every seat filled. So perhaps that's why. But honestly, I was a little disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
It is a fun film. I enjoyed it. I'm not spoiler alert. I'm not going to give it a bad score. But it kind of fails for me as a Fast and Furious film, and it's a little disappointing as a just summer fun action film for me.
Okay. I feel you.
That's where I'm coming from. All right, let's get into it. So we open this film, and how do we open this movie?
It opens with a heist. Where,
it's the M16.
MI6.
MI6.
Well, M16, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Sure.
That team.
Not technically wrong.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I was going. Anyway, they're moving in, and they're going to
Get this virus.
to get the virus thing, and
The plot
Idris Elba's
device.
like, nah. That my virus, and then he moves up. Can I just go through the whole movie like this?
The
Then
first
he
line
rolls
of
on
the
up.
movie, I'm the bad guy. I'm like, all right,
Who-
got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, and then he just rolls up, and he's trying to take the virus. He kills the whole team, and Sister Shaw's like, boom, oh, virus is me.
I'm the
and
virus.
then Idris Elba's like, damn, now I gotta go find her. Here, make her bad guy. And then it's like, who will ever stop us? And then hard cut to split screen is Hobbs and Shaw waking up in the morning. Oh, look, one cooks his eggs and one eats some raw. That's the movie.
I'm guessing you guys were into the banter between Hobbs and Shaw.
I will be 100% honest. It doesn't always work because I think there is a lot of it, but most of it does work, yes.
See, I would actually argue that most of it doesn't work.
Well,
so I'm into it for the beginning. Some of the lines aren't great for me, like some of the banter, like I'm what you call a champagne problem.
I'm sorry. So I had to be clear. Are we talking about the banter between the two of them or just their banter, period?
The banter between the two of them.
Okay.
I thought it works really well in Fate of the Furious.
Because what you just said, champagne problem, is just him.
No, I know, but I was using that as like lines. Okay. Lines don't always work for me in this film. The banter between the two of them, they have chemistry, but it kind of after a while felt like the same joke just being rewritten in different ways, and I was getting tired of it.
I'll tell you what, I can't argue with that because I think you're right. It didn't really, again, like, it worked, I would say 90% of the time. Every once in a while I'll be like, oh, that's a little much.
I'll put it this way. I think everything on Dwayne Johnson's side was fine because nothing in there was not already what Luke Hobbs has always been anyway.
Sure.
And he's always been good at delivering those lines. He has a lot of charisma.
Yeah.
Statham is not oozing charisma. He's not good at squeezing out extra charm into his lines, especially when he's like trying to sass back at Dwayne Johnson, who's just really good at that.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't always play.
Yeah, that's probably where that was coming from. I didn't realize that the writer of Iron Man 3 also wrote this movie.
Chris Morgan?
No, Drew Pearce.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
Drew
that
Pearce.
I can see where the witty
Drew Pearce.
banter comes from then.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So my favorite Fast and the Furious film is Fast 5.
Mm-hmm.
It's the standard for me. For me, that's the standard. That is the bar that every Fast and Furious film needs to hit, bare minimum, or else, I think up top.
Wait. Sorry. So it's your favorite. Every Fast and Furious film has to meet that bar or be better than it?
No, so I think Fast 5 it's my favorite, and I think it's the best.
Okay.
I think it is the best film. It's the one that works the most. It's the one that...
When you think of Fast and Furious, it's Fast 5.
It's Fast 5.
Sure.
Like, it's got the best cast. It's
got the bank vault.
It's got the bank vault sequence.
That's probably my favorite stunt,
which isn't
too. Yeah.
too far. It didn't go too far. It's still believable that these people who stole DVD players would screw it. Let's just steal a bank vault right now.
Sure.
Just to screw these guys.
Sure.
Before the spy stuff happens, before all that stuff.
Before they save the world.
Before they save the world. To me, that's pure Fast and Furious is Fast 5.
Sure.
And I 100% get that. But now we're 4 movies later, and you have an escalate, and I understand why. Fast 5 actually might be my favorite too. Mm-hmm. But that's not to say that I don't love what the franchise has become.
That said, now I have been thinking a lot about Fate of the Furious, and I think Fate of the Furious is a lot of fun. I think it is a blast of a movie.
Sure.
But it has a similar problem that this film has. But I think this film doesn't have the charisma that Fate of the Furious has. That this film is just kind of like, we're just going to talk about how badass we are and do badass things, and that's just the franchise now. But that wasn't that. The X factor of the franchise is not in this movie, and arguably it's not in Fate of the Furious. But again, Fate of the Furious I think is just more fun.
I would argue that The Rock is what helped make Fast and Furious what it is today.
Sure.
Didn't he come in Fast 5?
He does.
Well, there you go.
I think he helped, but I think it was Gal Gadot. I think it was Han.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Tyrese Gibson, Common.
Not
Tyrese. Ludacris. But the core relationship was always Brian and Dom.
Mm-hmm.
It was always Paul Walker and Vin Diesel.
Whoa.
I'm kind of having a hard time justifying whether or not I needed the franchise to continue after Paul Walker passed away. And I don't think I did. I don't want a Luke Hobbs. I'm not here for a sequel to this, honestly.
I'll say that I didn't need anything past Fast 7.
Furious 7,
yeah. Whatever. The 7th one.
Yeah.
I didn't need anything past that either. I thought that was a great ending. I didn't need more.
Yeah.
I haven't been upset with more. None of it has made me go, well, I'm really bummed they made this. I haven't walked into any of them and gone, no, they blew it.
I remember being very positive on Fast 8, and I'm still positive on it. I think every Fast and Furious movie since 5 has been great for various reasons, and they have been getting crazier and crazier. But, I mean, escalation's important in big blockbusters.
Escalation is important. I mean, I don't feel it is, but I understand why a lot of people do feel it is.
Yeah.
I totally get the idea you want to escalate in blockbusters. Mission Impossible has made a career of it.
Yes, I think that this franchise, where it went to post, I know what you're separating here, but let's say 6 and 7, even with just where it could have stopped there.
Yeah.
If they were going to keep going, it had to keep getting bigger. It's just what the franchise had become, it had to go up. That's what the franchise became partially based on. And I don't mean in a theming way. I mean part of why people kept coming back was to see the bigger, crazier
Stunts.
thing that they would make them do next time.
Yeah.
So I feel like it had to escalate.
Sure.
And I know I do want you to go through what you're about to say. I just know that there's a whole lot of people. It's a really weird spectrum because I know a whole lot of people who are like us, been with the franchise since the beginning. Love how it's evolved, or whatever our feelings are and that kind of thing. I know people who this was the first one that they could tolerate since the very first one.
Interesting.
Because they felt like everything else had been running it just into the ground, and this was the first one that felt like something different. Mostly because it's pretty much only tangentially connected, and especially if you're a person who didn't like those others, this is basically a separate thing.
Right.
So I feel like this part of why the franchise is successful is because somehow it appeals to all these different audiences who care about different pieces of this franchise.
Right.
So that's definitely a part of it, and that's A-okay, but I do want to hear your take on it, what you're saying.
I think I can sum it up in what you just said. It appeals to there is something in this franchise for everyone to appeal to, and Hobbs and Shaw specifically. That thing is missing for me. This film doesn't appeal to me as a fan of the franchise, but it does to other people.
Sure.
To me, this doesn't feel like Fast and Furious.
So what? Yes, and I disagree with that, because when I think of Fast and Furious, I think of stunts and family, and this movie had that in spades. This has more family than any Fast and Furious movie, because it's about the Rock reconnecting with his family from 25 years ago. That's super powerful, and that's this is a big stupid fun action movie, but like there are some moments with the Rock where he's talking to his brother, and I'm like, this is really good. This is some really good stuff, and it's not something I really expected. And that's what's great about this franchise. They're big blockbusters, but every movie gives us these small emotional moments every once in a while.
I don't know if I'd agree and say that this had more family. Like, it certainly had more blood family than previous Fast films, but like Fast and Furious, the fourth one, I mean, is probably the heaviest one on family, I think, because it's about the family that isn't your blood, that is your family.
Yes.
And I think that film...
This is like the opposite side of that.
I think that film was peak on the family narrative, was the fourth one.
I agree with that.
But I know what you're saying.
I'm saying
it's
more prevalent.
No, there's a lot
this.
of it there. There's a lot of it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird that the Shaws never once talk about the other brother, but whatever.
Super weird.
He was busy.
This film.
No, but I mean, just like
no, I'm
talking about like.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
And like that's the thing. So to me, a lot of the family stuff comes off as, well, it's Fast and Furious, so we have to have a family. Like, it just kind of felt a little disingenuous.
I loved Vanessa Kirby in this.
The stuff is good with them. There's a lot of good actors in this. Vanessa Kirby is great. I think Vanessa Kirby honestly steals the movie in a lot of places.
I agree.
But because but a lot of the reason why it feels a little disingenuous is because they keep talking about the Shaws, especially. This is family business. Where's Luke Evans?
No, yeah, you're not wrong.
In a hospital.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
Remember Fate of the Furious?
Oh yeah, that's right. He's up.
No, I give you that, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the
I don't remember Fate of the Furious. If it helps.
I guess there is no real excuse, really.
I don't come to Fast and Furious for Vin Diesel, The Rock, and Jason Statham to talk about how cool they are and how badass they are. And that's what a lot of this movie is, and a lot of Fate of the Furious is the same. Mm-hmm. Like, I think Fate of the Furious suffers from the similar problem of, like, Vin Diesel's like, I'm a badass, and I can beat this guy who was at Game of Thrones.
I mean, Vin Diesel kind of has to feel that way when he stepped on some concrete and the whole parking structure came down.
Yes.
That's true.
I mean, I'd walk away thinking I'm a badass, too.
But one of the reasons why I like Fast 5, and I'm going to go back to Fast 5 a lot in this conversation.
That's fine.
There is a fight between Vin Diesel and The Rock in Fast 5, and that fight is so raw and so real and so just full of emotion, and it calls back to one of the best bits of the first Fast and Furious, where Vin Diesel where The Rock just pushed the wrong buttons, and Vin Diesel just goes at him and about to like just wail on him with this like a wrench, right? Yeah, and it's such a raw moment. It felt earned. That moment feels so earned. Arguably, I don't think any one-on-one fight felt the same in any of these films after, including this one.
I think the Jason Statham Rock fight, where the Rock that's how he gets injured, and he's like in the cast and stuff up in that office.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good fight
in the DSS building.
It's a good fight. There's good. See, it's not a bad action movie. None of these are bad action movies. And this one is not a bad action movie. David Leitch has made a better movie than Atomic Blonde. I didn't think it was possible, honestly.
This is a really good action movie.
He also directed John Wick, so like...
Well, I know, but like after Atomic Blonde, I'm like, are you...
He did Deadpool 2 after that.
Some of the sequences in this are really good.
Yeah, some of the sequences are really good in this.
Hell yeah.
And it's also... I'm going to just say a small little gripe, and I know what I think Sparkz is going to say about this because we talked about it earlier. It takes them 45 minutes to get into a damn car. This is a Fast and the Furious movie. Why did it take so damn long?
Oh, I was like, what would I have to say? Oh, I know what I would have to say about that. So I'll draw that comparison then. Like, I know you're saying, like, this isn't what I go to a Fast and Furious film for, and I go back to, like, I know it's in the franchise, but it is a Hobbs and Shaw spin-off. And I compare this to Star Wars. When I go to see Solo, I'm not expecting to see the title crawl. I'm not expecting to see 3PO and R2-D2. Staples of the other Star Wars films, the main episode titles.
They're trying to do something new in the world.
I know it's something that exists in the world, but I'm not expecting to see the same things that are thematically implanted into the main story films. And that's how I feel about this. That's why a lot of those things don't bother me, because I'm like, there's not. I don't have the same checklist that this has to hit that I would if I went and saw Fast and Furious.
Excuse me. I almost wish this didn't have Fast and Furious Presents, because then it gives it that moniker.
I do too.
Because if it's just Hobbs and Shaw, it's like it's just these two characters.
I did too, because I was just about to say, if it was so, even in a Rogue One or a Solo, like they still feel like Star Wars. Like there are still elements that belong to the Star Wars universe, and they are still part of that world.
Sure.
For Hobbs and Shaw, you have introduced now a massive science fiction story element
Metal Gear
that has not existed in this franchise before.
God's Eye is a surveillance device that can spy on anyone at any time.
And that's Fate of the Furious, right?
Is that the last one? I think.
Sure.
it was in 7 that God's Eye was introduced.
That's pretty science fiction.
Because Paul Walker was still involved when they were pursuing God's Eye.
But now that
was the Missandre from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
She'd invented it. She was introduced in
Ramsey.
Right.
I think
Ramsey.
Yeah.
Now we have. So that's, I totally understand what you're saying, and that bugs me, but not to the extent of now we have cybernetic humans. Cybernetic implants in humans, and now we have super soldiers.
It is a leap. It is a leap.
It is a leap, and it feels so detached from the rest of the franchise that it almost feels like it shouldn't be part of the franchise.
That's why it's not a Fast and the Furious 9 movie. It's Hobbs and Shaw.
Right,
it's
but
a different
it's still
side of
supposed
the
to
world.
exist in the Fast and Furious franchise.
For me, we're at if this movie came out after Fast 5. It wouldn't work, but this movie has come out after all this insanity. It works for me.
For me, the Fast and Furious films, the core of them has always been the Toretto family, and like whoever's in that family, not necessarily by blood, but like that crew. And that crew has been asked to come help on Save the World assignments, but they are not the first people you go to for something like this. So the idea that things like this could exist isn't that big of a stretch to me when you think about the technology that they've already introduced in 7 and 8. So to me, this is like, well, it makes sense that Hobbs gets brought in because he is official. He is that person who's like also kind of been roped in with the Toretto team because of his history with them, but he's not part of that crew necessarily. He is still an official agent who gets called in for this kind of work, and this is the Save the World kind of work that's happening in the Fast franchise. I can buy that. It's not a stretch to me to say that no more than like the other crazy action things that have happened up until 8.
Sure.
That this is the world,
The Rock kicks
the bigger
a live,
world that the more official government
a
agents
live
are dealing
torpedo in Antarctica.
Right. This is not past believability for me. And frankly, I only get more excited at the idea of this Etrion existing, and then the combination of that existing and Charlize Theron still being out there for the next Fast and Furious film, and those two things being a thing that exists.
You're reading my mind.
Over the horizon.
Did you guys see? So Vin Diesel has been posting a lot about Fast 9 on Instagram, and there was this one where he and Tyrese Gibson are on these little bird scooters, and some guy is like driving the car, and he's like, "Okay, go," and Tyrese's like, "Man, guys, we did some real shit on this set back there. We can't tell you what it is, but wow, it was really something." And Vin Diesel just goes, "It's a good thing we waited a year to get this right, didn't we?" It's like, yeah. It's like, oh my god, I need this to stop. I need you guys.
We waited a year.
I need you guys to stop this right now.
Yeah, we were talking about it, Sparkz, like right after the movie. Like, God, we hope that this beef, whatever stupid beef they have, gets squashed, because like whether like you like this premise or not, like there's like a world here that so many other characters are introduced. You know, like Locke and Loeb, which are just like, ridiculously fun, and like Kevin Hart. I guess if I had one problem, I guess like, if something had to go, I guess it'd be Kevin Hart. But I still liked it.
I didn't mind him being there, but that initial scene with him was too long.
It was long.
It was too long.
Yes, that's like the one.
And I'm like, cool. I know Dwayne Johnson and him are friends in real life.
Yeah.
I don't need this long of a scene.
I did like Ryan Reynolds.
I actually think the film, when it's just characters just vamping, I think all those moments go a little too long.
I will agree. I think you could trim a lot of the comedy out of this movie.
Yeah.
At least like because like sometimes the banter does go on for a long time.
Yes.
And even though I am enjoying it, I'm like, I know this movie is like almost 2.5 hours long. Like, it doesn't really need to be.
When Ryan Reynolds is on screen, which by the way, when Ryan Reynolds showed up on screen, holy shit, what the hell is Ryan Reynolds doing on this movie?
He was
fantastic.
He was so fun.
I loved every bit of him.
Yeah.
Because his whole bit is just like, oh yeah, we're big friends, aren't we, Rebecca? And I'm like, I'm all about this. I'm all about Ryan Reynolds pretending he's his closest friend in the world.
He has a matching tattoo.
He killed someone with a brick. Like, how do you even do that? There's no sharp edges.
Did you say for all the way to the end of the credits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was
apparently it was easy to kill someone with a brick.
I think it was unnecessary, but still fun.
Yeah, I think the I mean, obviously, this might not have actually been obvious unless you read his Instagram, because Dwayne Johnson was like, "I hope you guys like all our cameos because I'm building this team and we're gonna go to the sequel." I'm like, oh, I did. I wish I didn't know that.
Honestly, don't like. If David Leitch comes back, or they just get another really great competent director, like action director, I don't mind, because like I don't mind going to the movies and sitting through just a fun dumb action movie. I hate calling them that, but like that, like at the end of the day, like this isn't. You don't think a lot watching this movie, right? Mm-hmm. I just giggled and said, "Huh, that's funny." But the action really works. I think all the cameos are really fun. We haven't talked about Idris Elba at all, and I love Idris Elba in this movie. It's like the first time you actually get to play an asshole, but like he's so charming, and I love seeing him like get his spine worked on. It's crazy.
He's clearly having a good time.
Oh yes. He's the Black Superman. It's awesome. He's
killing it. His whole scene where he's shocking them, I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
and I didn't mind the history built between him and Statham. I didn't mind that there was that. That he was like that. Statham's like, yeah, he's this ghost. He's supposed to be dead.
When he says, I already shot my brother. I was like, you shot Luke Evans?
See, that's exactly.
He did the same thing, and I'm like, no, he's talking about him.
Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, I really like Idris Elba, and I personally like, again, Metal Gear. There's so much Metal Gear in here. After we were talking about the sequel of what this movie would be, and I was like, bring back Han, make him a cyborg, do stupid crazy shit, and you're like, you got to get off the Metal Gear train.
Okay, so here is something. I've talked a little bit about how I think it's a strange trend in modern day blockbusters that villains become heroes, and I think nowhere is that more true than the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah.
Especially with Jason Statham.
And his brother.
Jason Statham killed Han.
Yes.
Are we just supposed to forget that?
I was talking to Sparkz about this. This is the only problem that I have with the continuation of Shaw being a hero. I don't mind if he's a hero. They've clearly painted him in the picture as like, hey, I was betrayed, like I was framed, all this stuff. Like I'm not the bad guy people think I am.
Yeah.
But you still killed Han. If you
your own volition.
Yeah, you need to give me a justified
Still killed
reason.
a lot of people.
Yeah, and he even says, I've done a lot of things I regret, right? Mm-hmm. And that's fine with me. I'm just waiting for them to give me the reason why he had to kill Han. If you do that, I'm fine with this. I'm totally fine. But they're just ignoring it, and everybody knows it's like weird.
It was him sending a message because they'd killed. I mean, the reality is it's really hard to walk this because you're working through like three different things. Because one is that, well, he was doing this. Yeah, it's a retcon of a retcon.
Of a retcon.
That's what's happening, and that's really tough.
And it's the same writer for all these movies too, which again, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's like the Conjuring.
You just kind of have to
take it as face
roll
value.
with it. Yeah. I do wish that there were a more deft hand at handling the emotional beats of Statham's character, although, to be fair, I don't think he's got the chops to hold it up as an actor, personally.
I agree with that.
But I do wish that there was somebody who had written a bit more through the emotional beats and at least allowed some of the room for the bond between him and Dwayne Johnson to have evolved through the movie, because, like, they're better, but they're still giving each other shit, and then all of a sudden
fighting the entire time.
Well, no, and then all of a sudden they're great
until the end. Yeah,
until Samoa.
Once we get to
that's the final act.
No, but that's what I mean. Is that like when we're in Moscow and all that? Once we're past the plane, we should be at a point where we're starting to see like the turn, something between them that turns them, rather than it just being like, well, now they've spent enough time together, like they're good. And I'm like, cool, they spent this much time together in Fate, and that didn't change.
Eddie Marston shows up. He's a great character actor. He shows up as like the guy who designed like the virus. Mm-hmm. He has a great moment with a flamethrower. It's really fun.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And then he gets his next real snap, real hard by Idris Elba. It's cool seeing him.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sparkz, that I think that the turn isn't set up well.
Sure.
When we get to Samoa, it is just they are brothers, and I'm like, I missed something. If you're here already, I think I missed something.
There wasn't any emotional like something didn't happen. That it was like, now we're at page 100. They need to be friends. Yeah. Like, and I will agree with that too.
Yeah. But I also don't expect that from these films.
Yes.
That kind of it always surprises me when it's present. One that you and I go back to, Brandon, is when Michelle Rodriguez and Dom reunite, and that was surprisingly more emotionally written than we expected, because we don't get that out of the franchise a lot. Yeah. There are a couple of other moments like that peppered around the Fast and Furious films.
All of them,
when we were watching 4, 5.
5.
6.
4 has the drug tunnels.
Pretty sure it's 6.
It's 6.
It's 6. When we were watching 6, when Michelle Rodriguez comes back, yes, it's 6.
Amnesia.
It is 6. And they're having this moment together, and I'm just like, do I buy a relationship between Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez?
Yeah. Yes, you did.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And like I'm like super.
And it
invested
wasn't
in
just that the actors were doing one of the best jobs of their lives, which they were, but it was also that the writing was there.
Yeah.
And for the emotional part of this, the writing isn't as there as I'd like it to be.
I agree.
But
Yeah.
but I am also impressed with the amount that is in there, which is the stuff about, toss away cameo as she is, that Helen Mirren has this establishment. I do like the way that he talks with his mom. I do like the banter between them. I do like that there's this building up of a relationship that went astray between him and his sister. It all works for me. I like that that's part of the background. I like that it's also part of the background that he has a former relationship with Brixton. That really lands for me too.
Yeah.
That all of that is there. I really like that Dwayne Johnson's character has left his home behind. Part of what makes that work for me is that I am invested in the character and his daughter specifically.
Dude, I love how
when
much,
that lands, it lands.
I love how much he talks to his daughter on the phone, and it's always like, because like that is his only family. Because like
Yes.
he gave up the other side of the family.
Yes.
So he's always in communication with her. I think that is so sweet.
And the reason wasn't stupid.
No.
I was waiting for the reason to be stupid. Like, why hasn't he
turned
spoken to
his
his family in
dad in
25
because he was a
years?
criminal.
He's turned his dad in,
He was
and
a
the others
narc.
weren't on board with it, and he was afraid that they'd hate him for it.
I think that's really noble. I think
Now,
that's super
again, I do wish that there had been more of an emotional beat on the other end of that when he has that conversation with Jonah.
Yeah.
I think there could have been a better delivery of like this kind of recognition of like, you didn't have to leave home.
cool. Yeah.
We know what you did,
We know.
and you didn't have to leave for it.
Right.
I do think the turning all the guns off, which is more Metal Gear. All the guns are encoded in Metal Gear, and they need fingerprints to use them. They turn all the guns off, and they just get their asses beat by a bunch of like Samoan weapons. That's super fun.
Yeah.
They're just like screaming, like setting off bomb traps.
No-
Home Alone, Skyfall.
No action piece in this film was not impressive to me.
David Leitch has made nothing but incredible action movies his entire career.
Yeah.
Like even if like Atomic Blonde isn't a good movie, it's a great action movie. And he did Deadpool 2, and he did John Wick, and he did this. Like, that dude is so talented at filming action scenes.
Yeah.
There was one thing I was disappointed in my reaction to when all the cars are connecting to the helicopter sequence. I was surprised at the fact that I wasn't like cheering in the theater for
Dude,
that
when
moment.
they all hit the NOS, I did.
Like,
I know you did.
I did.
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard.
Because you were like,
I was-
wow, this is Fast and Furious.
I was happy to see the NOS,
Yeah.
because Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
But when they're all connecting, like I was kind of hopeful, like yeah. But like I was just kind of like, okay,
So like the trailer shows that like, okay, they do that, but they only do it with like 1 or 2 cars. They
Yeah.
do like 4 or 5 cars. And I'm like, that's when they got the last car. I'm like, okay, now this is ridiculous. Because
Yeah.
when they showed there's like 4 cars hanging off, I'm like, this is bananas. Like
Yeah.
I didn't cheer, but I'm just like, the balls on these guys.
I was laughing.
Yeah,
I was
it's
just
ridiculous.
I wanted the same reaction to that as I had when they were dragging the safe through the streets in Fast 5.
It's not meant to be. I don't think it's meant to be that same kind of moment. I know what you're looking for, and I just don't think it was built to be that kind of moment. I think this film knew what it wanted to be right from the start, because it's all in the pacing of that opening where it's like, who's going to stop us? Hard cut, split screen. Here's Hobbs. Here's Shaw. Here's your 2 guys. You know them. You love them. Or you don't.
The trailer is Why Can't We Be Friends?
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the background.
And you're following them for a long time in the split screen of their day, and it's like this is the setup. It's going to be these guys. This is the movie. It's these guys who both are have their own way of being badasses, and here it is, and that's the setup. And I knew what movie I was getting into. It's almost a hilarity, and I'll tell you what, I actually really like something in this film that I thought lended a lot to Hobbs' character, at least, which is that he says, I think we could take 5 shocks. And he's like, 5, all right. And he shocks him, and he's like, you had to open your big mouth. And he's like, I thought it sounded cool in the moment.
Yeah.
And for me, that was everything, because to me, what that implies is that Hobbs is always trying to look cool and badass, and it just happens to work most of the time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work. And I really like that.
Yeah, that's good. I like that sequence also.
So Keanu Reeves is definitely the voice of that director guy, right?
Do you want to know who's the voice of the director? Because I looked it up.
It's not Keanu Reeves.
It's not Keanu Reeves.
Who is it?
Ryan Reynolds.
That I caught that.
Oh, do you think that's a
I
twist,
don't-
or is that just
I don't know that really means he's the same character. I
Okay.
don't think so.
that
At
would,
this moment, I don't think he's the director.
that'd be a cool double twist?
Yeah, I noticed it was Ryan Reynolds. There's a bit where the modulation drops, and it sounds exactly like Ryan
I tried to
Reynolds.
catch it, but like, yeah.
So I thought I was just hearing things, but saying that makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think probably was just like, "Hey, Ryan Reynolds, you're on set."
We don't know who we want to be the director, but you're here, so do this.
It's like he did the voice of Juggernaut.
Yes.
Yeah,
Deadpool.
in Sherlock Holmes, the first Sherlock Holmes, there is a voice actor who plays Moriarty, but it's not Jared Harris.
Oh
Right.
yeah, at
Like,
the end.
Yeah, it's just you have you don't know who you're going to get yet. So
and
makes sense.
Keanu Reeves isn't in this movie.
No.
There was that rumor that
Yeah.
he would be. He did admit that he was contacted about joining up with the franchise.
I'm not surprised.
And all that. So that's on the table, but nothing's official. So he could still be the director down the road, which I'm all about
Hell
if that
yeah,
happens.
baby.
But
Yeah.
it's not at the moment the case.
this and Fate of the Furious have similar sequel setups.
They do.
Mhm. Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
I really like Idris Elba's robot bike.
Yeah.
The
He's basically
stunts?
Rinsler if Rinsler escaped into reality.
That's That's a good pull.
For those of you who don't know, Rinsler is from
Tron.
Tron Legacy.
He's Tron made bad.
Yes.
Yes. Like the bike like shifts to his movements. So, like,
Transforms.
it's a transforming bike, absolutely. So like he's falling off and the bike's like moving around him to get him back onto the bike. Like it's like AI super technology, and I'm like, this is cool shit. This is the coolest shit. I love it.
That was a cool car chase, by the way.
It was.
The only
Yeah.
car chase in the whole movie.
Yeah. We saw it in the trailer, like where they kidnap Vanessa Kirby and go down the building.
Yeah.
But in the movie, it's so much cooler and so much crazier. The Rock, you were like, he's a psychopath.
Yeah, when he's just jumping from person to fall onto the next person, I'm like, he's a psychopath.
That's like-
he's just out of his mind.
I was like, this is so ridiculous. It's so fun.
Yeah, I feel like the films have earned to be this insane at this point. Like, even though this is a spin-off, if you're come along this far in the franchise, it's all nuts. It's just nuts. Everything goes nuts.
I do agree that this is the hardest leap we've made into like, yo, he's a cyborg man. He's got superpowers basically. For me, I welcome that with open arms. I'm ready. Like, for me, I don't want this franchise to just be the same thing over and over again. It needs to, and they've done it to themselves. Unfortunately, you have to keep getting crazier and crazier. Otherwise, like, it's not exciting.
So
But they did it to themselves.
And I totally agree. And so that goes to my whole thing is like, what I go for a Fast and Furious film, I didn't get in this film.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm ever going to get it again. Like looking at Fate of the Furious, I think Fate of the Furious is a really fun action film and is borderline a Fast and Furious film.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of wondering if this is going to sound really weird. I'm really wondering if that X Factor was Paul Walker.
Yeah.
For me, like specifically, I wonder if that X Factor was Paul
No,
Walker.
I don't think it's so much that it was Paul Walker, but the X Factor very well could have been the relationship
Yeah.
that was center focus, which was that crew.
Yeah.
You know, was Dom, was Paul, was
Letty.
but was also the sister, who's
Yeah.
also off
Jordana
the book.
Brewster, yeah.
Yes, who's also off the books if Paul Walker isn't in it.
Yeah.
So they're both gone.
So I
because of that.
wonder if that's it. And I started to, that's why I think Fast 5 is the top, and like since then it's like 6, 7, 8. Like it kind of like goes down because we are losing what I'm coming to the franchise for.
That's fair.
And I think as we keep getting further, like I'll go see them. I'm going to go see all of them.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm into the franchise as
I'll
much
tell
as I
you
used
what,
to be.
I think these movies would probably be like, of course, like which one did he pass away? Was it 7?
7.
So I think like 7 had to change, but I think like the trajectory of what these movies became would still be the same. Just Paul Walker would be there.
Well, Paul Walker wasn't going to come back after 7. He was always done after 7.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, he said he was retiring to be with his daughter.
Well, either way, I think this franchise would kind of pan out the same way, just with him or without him. So like, for me, the X Factor is past 4 is like crazy stunts and like people bonding and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, for me as an action film, this is fun. As a Fast and Furious film, I was a little wanting.
That's totally fair. And again, like, they didn't make it a actual Fast and Furious movie, so like they didn't feel the same way too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really the only where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want? We've got time. If you guys want to just chat.
Let's see. I just really enjoy. I really love Idris Elba in this movie. Like, he's just playing a snarky bad guy, but like he doesn't get to do that.
He's really fun in this movie.
Yeah.
I think his character kind of reminds me a bit of his character in Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah. Okay.
But he's not covered in all that makeup.
And
so he's
Beyond,
able
he actually
to.
has like a much more believable like reasoning for doing something. Instead of just like, humans should evolve and be really cool. We should just wipe out humanity.
Yeah. So I like Idris Elba as a bad guy. I kind of want to see him more as a hero eventually, but as a
I mean, he mostly only plays heroes.
that's true. I don't know why I said that. I like him in everything. He's a lot of fun, especially when you can tell when he's like into a role and when he's into a role.
Oh yeah,
and I think in this one he was into this role.
Yeah.
He was like he was having a lot of fun.
Gets you chew the scenery.
Absolutely, he's a complete scenery chewer, and I liked watching him a lot. He was electrifying whenever he was on screen.
I hope David Leitch gets to move on and do bigger and better things, because not better things, but like every movie he makes just keeps getting bigger and bigger in terms of scope. Mm-hmm. And like this dude's like, again, he's really talented. Like I have to John Wick. I can thank him for that. Yeah. John Wick's like my favorite American franchise, like action franchise. So I hope the next movie he does is just like super crazy. Oh, it's supposed to be Highlander, I think.
He is working on Highlander.
If that actually happens.
Wait, it's him, right? Not Chad?
I don't remember. I always get them mixed up, unfortunately.
I wish like the Russo brothers, they stuck together, so we know.
Yeah,
but they split up.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think I really have much more to say. Like again, like this isn't a necessarily like super deep movie. It's just like I had a lot of fun watching it. Yeah. Like I do have complaints. But it was a good time. Good time at the movies. I spent $4 seeing it. I can't complain.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Sparkz, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Sorry, I'm trying to find anything where it says Paul Walker was retiring at Furious 7, because I've never heard that before. I've only heard the contrary, that he was going up until 9 at least.
This is interesting because I only heard the retirement story.
I've never ever heard that.
I've heard neither from either, so I'm in the middle.
Yeah. I just thought I thought overall everything worked. I really liked the inclusion of Ryan Reynolds. Mm-hmm. That was one of my favorite things. I'm like, man, put him in the Fast and Furious. Have him pop up wherever. Have him banter with Kurt Russell in the next Fast and Furious.
You can't name your characters Lock and Loeb and not have them team up in the next movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's Lock and Loeb.
That's going to be another spin-off.
Yeah. I was surprised Kurt Russell didn't show up. Kurt Russell.
I was
surprised he didn't show up
Mr. Nobody is mentioned.
He is, but I was surprised he wasn't the one who recruited
him. I was kind of expecting it too.
I was okay with it.
Yeah, I was okay with it too, but I was surprised that that wasn't the plot, that he was recruiting them, because that's what Fate of the Furious is. He recruits them.
Yeah. Does he work for the CIA, or does he work for like the shadow government stuff?
I think he's shadow government.
Okay, was this shadow government too?
This was CIA.
Okay, so I think maybe that's why.
Maybe
because it was more on the books.
Right.
That's why Dom wasn't there and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm busy.
I thought. I honestly like there are two action movie franchises that I think are just killing it. Like, they're home runs with what they're doing when they're just being action movies. They're just so good to go see, and that's John Wick and this.
Yeah,
this franchise
and Mission Impossible. I will.
And Mission Impossible.
Yes, because those movies have only gotten better with each movie.
That's true.
I would at this point, I'm far more into a Mission Impossible film than I am into a Fast and Furious film.
I am too. Yeah, after Fallout,
that's a whole different craft of action film.
Yeah.
From the Fast
Tom
and Furious
Cruise
franchise.
wants to kill himself on screen. The Rock has clauses how many times he can get punched.
The Fast and Furious franchise is very much like the popcorn blockbuster action film of the summer. That's what the franchise has become. But they're like the good end of that, the good version of that. I was really happy to actually spend this much time with Luke Hobbs' character, because he has never been developed enough, and we've had so many movies with him. I was happy to spend time with him. And
I actually kind
developed.
of like, in a weird way, like I have an understanding of who that person is more than ever.
Yeah,
like if I went back and watched the other
movies,
you
should if he's in a spin-off movie of his own.
And if I went and watched the other movies, I think I would like even like his character more, because I understand where he's always coming from.
Yeah. To me, Statham holds a weaker stature. I just don't think that he is given enough, nor do I think he's good at carrying what he's given in character development to land it.
I think
as well as I want.
don't think it's all on him though. Like, I mean, which you kind of just said.
Yeah.
But like, where his character is and what they give him to do. Like, I kind of wanted. Like, they gave a lot to The Rock emotionally, and like the stuff they had with his family was there, but I didn't feel it as much.
Sure.
So maybe they're saving it for the next movie. I don't know.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because
the stuff with him and his sister I liked a lot.
I did too.
Not
I'm not 100% sold enough on him being as this character having evolved.
I just need a reason for Han.
He just very much always feels like he's bending to whatever the script needs him to do, and it's not so much about a character growing.
Yeah,
his character is almost different in every Fast film he appears in.
Very true.
Like he's written to be a different person, even though it's under the moniker of the same person, guy.
I feel that.
And I just feel that, and I wish that they'd done something here that had made me feel like he was consistently that person, and this is who he's grown into now. and I don't feel that. But I also, no offense to him, I just don't go to Jason Statham for like great character
Emotional.
development. That's not what I go to him for.
Yeah. Like I love him in like the Transporter movies and Crank.
Sure,
but those
yes,
aren't emotionally hitting movies. Those are action movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's good at what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I would like for him to try some drama just to see if he can do it. Because everyone's capable of something. They got to give him a shot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like there was room to have written more for him to have there, but it just didn't happen.
This movie is already really long. Maybe not.
But like you said, like some of the
banter.
some of the banter could have been cut
Yeah.
down, and I'll even agree with that. Like that, certainly some of the plain stuff I didn't need. Because I felt like that was the point. The only part of that banter I cared about was the part where it was Shaw calling The Rock out for clearly liking his sister.
That was cute.
And that part of it worked for me, but it was more or less the banter was a continuation on the I hate you kind of thing.
Yes, I agree.
And again, I just think with a more deft literary hand, we could have handled the growth of the bond to make it so that when we get to that final point where they're giving each other crap and Vanessa Kirby throws her arms around both of them and she's like, boys, let's just go home, and they both smile at each other and laugh, and I'm like, wow, that felt real cheesy, and I wish that didn't feel so cheesy.
It did feel cheesy.
Because I wish they were more bonded to
You're
each
right.
other up to that point.
When Jason Statham was like, I'm with you, brother, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
It's, you know what, it feels like, so Chris Morgan, he writes like all the Fast and Furious movies, and he wrote this, and then they got a punch-up guy from Iron Man 3 to make it snarky, but they didn't do any edits after that, so they just kept all the dialogue in. That's why there's so much of it.
Sure.
Probably.
The Rock, I think, plays it really well. I think Luke Hobbs is a really well-rounded character at this point.
I like him a lot, yeah.
I can't get over him and Ryan Reynolds playing with each other. I love it so much. The ending phone call where it's like, wow, you and your daughter, you seriously sound the same. I need to speak to Hobbs, honey. This is me. No, put your dad on the phone. This is me. It works really well.
Yeah.
God, I hope he's in more of the next one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they can't just do this to us.
Yeah,
lock and load, baby.
I'll watch so much more. So the whole thing is that, like, you know, the introduction of this Etrion Foundation and everything else, and it's clearly setting up more with that.
An ultimate big bad.
Me personally, I know where Brandon feels on this, but I'm all about more. I'm all about more of this franchise. In fact,
If it's called Hobbs and Shaw 2: Lock and Lobe, I will.
Oh my lord!
I will pre-order my DVD
lord.
immediately. Whose money do I get?
Basically,
Yeah.
I wonder, Brandon, do you think you would feel the same way if the Fast and Furious franchise stopped at 7 and then there was this?
Ooh.
So, like, it was done. The Toretto crew story was done, but then they kept going in the world with this.
Oh.
Would you feel the same?
Interesting.
You know what? I might. That's hard to say, because on the one hand, I actually might feel worse about it
because this is what we have now instead.
Because there wouldn't be Fate of the Furious, which, you know, for better or worse, does act as a, you know, it's Fate of the Furious and then Hobbs and Shaw.
That's true. You do need, like, that developmental step.
Because that's where Statham kind of becomes a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you just went from Furious 7 to Hobbs and Shaw, I feel like that would be like
ignoring
nope.
the character part of that about Shaw, but I'm talking about, like,
no, I think like story and scale.
As conceptually of film, you know, they continued with the Hobbs character and things like connected to him, but it was done with the Toretto crew.
On one hand, I might feel better because it would feel disconnected from the Toretto family.
Like you're seeing a different avenue of the world entirely now. It's not part of it.
But on the other hand, going from Furious 7 to Hobbs and Shaw, on story and scale, it just feels like a much larger leap.
Yeah, because that the 8, like the crazy stuff in 8 wouldn't happen. So then you go from 7 to cyborgs.
Sure,
like, that's where I might be like, this is a little much.
Now 8 shortens the gap. There's still a gap, but 8 shortens it.
Yeah.
I'm trying less to talk about, like, the story elements and everything, and more just about if the Toretto crew story stuff had ended, and then it's not the same movie.
Yeah,
but it is a Hobbs / Shaw in some way incorporated focused film. That's not necessarily the same as this, but they are just moving the franchise in a different direction. That's more what I'm saying.
Yeah, you know, maybe.
Yeah,
because
I wonder.
I kind of wonder, like, you know, how I would feel if the franchise ended at Furious 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm all for, like, they haven't made one I didn't like yet outside of Tokyo Drift, so I'm all for.
We're gonna have to revisit this, my man, because 2's the bad one, 3's good.
I mean, Too Fast, Too Furious isn't good either, though that ending car scene is good.
Yes.
I mean, those are both awful sequels. Let's
Too
be
Fast
honest.
and Furious at least has Paul Walker.
3 has Little Bow Wow. And it
That's
has,
Oh wow,
That's
you
a
really
con.
got
and
me
it
on
has
that
the
one.
Incredible
That's
Hulk
a
car.
con.
Thank you. The Incredible Hulk car. Thank you.
Ryan, they're both bad.
They're both bad.
Listen, I like Tokyo Drift. Let me have it.
That's fine. That's fine.
We all get one.
I don't like Tokyo Drift.
That's
but,
fine.
Um,
You don't like a 40-year-old man playing an 18-year-old sub with a southern accent?
I absolutely
Jesus.
do not.
Remember when he came back and
And he looked like 70.
Jesus.
I love it.
Yeah, no. But I really enjoy
Tokyo
this.
Drift gave us Han Solo, so you have to appreciate it for that alone. Just say yes.
It's better in Fast Five.
Just say it yes. Just say yes.
I mean, his character was better in all of the other movies.
But he was introduced in 3.
You're right, but he was barely in it enough to be meaningful.
Just say yes. Yes. Talk to me, Goose.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm all for what this means for the future of the franchise. I like the idea of them building this other avenue of the world. I like the idea of them potentially all still crisscrossing and a whole bunch of mishmash and everything. I'm just all for it.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. I'm all in.
I'm on board.
I've enjoyed everything from Fast and Furious, the 4th one, all the way up. I've enjoyed it all.
Should we rate it? Get
Yeah.
out of here and rate it?
Yeah.
Oh, I will bring up, because I brought up with Ryan, that because we were talking about the Han thing and that they need to do something to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
I was saying how the movie ends with them doing this duo team comparison thing right as the credits are starting, and Statham says Han Solo had Chewbacca, and I think it would have been great if Luke Hobbs
yeah.
had just turned to him and been like, "Don't you say Han's name," and that had just been that had been the acknowledgement. I'm like, it's almost too cheesy, and yet it's not.
Like,
it's almost too far,
they
and
say
it's not.
Han's name. They say Han, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, how do you not reference the character?
Yeah.
The guy who killed him, and he's right there, man. Come
Right.
on.
Jesus.
Missed opportunity.
Hashtag.
It was.
There's an article on CBR.
Justice for Han.
There's an article on CBR that is just, no, Hobbs and Shaw does not do justice to Han. I'm like, really? You wrote an article on
Hey,
this?
man, you know that website.
Yeah.
They'll write effing anything.
Yeah, seriously.
A lot of websites will.
Yeah.
All right, shall we rate it?
Yeah.
Ryan, you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said earlier, it's a lot of fun at the movies. You don't have to bring your thinking hat if you don't want to. It's just, sometimes it's nice to just go and giggle a lot. I would give it like a 7.5. Like, it's not, it's nothing super crazy, but it's a lot of fun.
Sparkz?
Yeah, I had a really great time. I think every bit of action works. Dwayne Johnson's Luke Hobbs always works for me. Statham Shaw works for me sometimes, and Kirby is excellent.
Yeah, she is.
And Idris Elba's killing it. I had so much fun. I just had a really good time watching it. I enjoyed it. I was laughing. It was awesome. I'm all about this franchise. I'm all about where this can go. So
Hell yeah.
yeah, 8.
Yeah, I give it a solid 7. I think I think a lot of it does work. Some of the jokes fall a little flat for me. But I just can't get over it has the words Fast and Furious, so I got to compare it to the rest of the franchise. So it's like, that might be a tough hurdle for me to jump. So solid 7, I think, because I'm where
Solid
I'm
7.
Yeah.
It's my nickname.
I'll put it this way. I think I had a better time watching this than I did Fate of the Furious.
Thinking back, I think so too.
Because I haven't watched Fate of the Furious again since theaters, and I know I enjoyed it, but I don't think about it a lot, and I really liked this.
Yeah.
I remember watching Fate of the Furious in theaters, and I had a blast. I was I was into Fate of the Furious.
Sure.
Which was the one with Statham and the baby?
That was Fate.
That was the last one?
Yeah.
That movie is fun.
That movie is fun.
Okay, yeah, okay.
That movie's fun. I
Yeah.
got to revisit it. I'll
Yeah.
acknowledge.
But I also have not revisited it since theaters.
Guys, listen, we can watch the entire filmography when Fast Lane comes out next year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But so if I'm comparing my first time theater experiences, I know I enjoyed Fate more.
Yeah.
Than this one. So
Sure.
all right, so let's get out of here.
Heck yeah.
This was fun.
Can't wait to meet John Cena next year.
Don't forget, guys,
Dun, 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 dun.
our episode on what did we talk about just like a couple hours ago? The Boys.
The boys are back.
The Boys is up now. If you're listening to this,
Whoop, whoop.
Next week we will have Jen, our good friend Jen, the Key Thief,
Yeah. Artist extraordinaire.
artist extraordinaire. So you don't want to miss that episode. Thank you to everyone who listens. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm so tired.
Dom says thanks, guys.
We greatly appreciate all you listeners. We have, let's see, we got a YouTube page. We got some stuff on YouTube.
Heck yeah.
We got a Funko affiliate page. You can check that out.
Shop 10, link in the description.
We got a Patreon, which if you're listening to this episode on Monday, Thanks for subscribing to our Patreon.
You the best. Keep the lights on.
If you're not, why did you subscribe to our Patreon?
You should be listening to this early if you're a subscriber.
TeePublic, we got a TeePublic page.
All the
new
merch.
designs coming.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, all those links are in the descriptions. Check those out. Thank you to everyone who listens. Like I said, thank you to Jeremy Vellucci, who does our collaborator.
Thanks, Mike Matola, for doing all our logos.
Mike Matola for our logos.
Where can they find you, Brandon?
Fake Nerd Podcast, all on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Ooh.
FakeNerdGuys@gmail.com. I'm at
Emails.
BT McClure.
Baby.
I'm at BT McClure. Where are you?
I'm at DJ Tony Snark at everything.
Sparks.
I am Sparkz Witty on Instagram, SPARKZ Witty.
Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Rate and review wherever you get us. Greatly appreciate it. Until next week, guys.
Real quick,
Ryder.
Paul Walker was planning on taking an extended break, but he was not retiring entirely from film.
Fascinating.
Fascinating. Whoa!
Until next week, guys. Ride or die.
Ride or die. Yeah.